Hello, this is a recording of a presentation I gave at the GEO Virtual Symposium in May 2022, titled Accessible and Actionable Hydrology, GEOGloWS ECMWF Streamflow. My name is Riley Hales. I am a hydraulics and hydrology researcher at BYU, and I've been part of the GEOGloWS Streamflow modeling project since April of 2018. An outline of this presentation is I'll describe the GEOGloWS ECMWF Streamflow model, talk about its unique contributions to hydrologic modeling, and how that ties in with the GEO Knowledge Hub and GEO activities, some success stories of this project, and then reflect on the lessons that we learned in our experience. A quick introduction to the GEOGloWS ECMWF Streamflow model is it is a global hydrologic model. We have about 1 million stream reach reporting points across the globe. We provide principally two data products. There is a hindcast and a forecast. The hindcast goes from 1980 to near real time, and the forecast is an ensemble forecast which spans 15 days, and that is generated every day at midnight. We derive lots of derivative products from these, and they've been used in a variety of applications, and this is really a result of many organizations listed on the bottom right of this slide. So the unique contribution of GEOGloWS to the hydrologic modeling world is shown on this slide. So GEOGloW's unique contribution to hydrologic modeling is really that it's focused on the end users and the usability of the model. Starting on the left, you might say that models are composed of lots of different things, starting with the choice of global data sets and modeling methods, the computer infrastructure, your choice of calibration algorithms, all those kinds of things that are interesting to the academics. And those I've labeled as things meant for the model builders. And lots of models, not to be critical of them, are rightly interested on this end of the spectrum. These are things that improve the quality of the model, produce publishable research, and are certainly very important parts of science. But as I sometimes describe it, GEOGloWS isn't about doing science strictly for the sake of science. We're interested in these things that I've listed on the right, making data download and querying services, producing ways to visualize model results and explore graphically the data that we produce, building app interfaces, coding packages, all kinds of things which I would describe as being designed for local users of global modeling data. So that's our distinction. We spend a considerable amount of our time just trying to make the model more usable and accessible by people, though certainly we are interested in improving the quality of the model and those other model builder type components. The way that we support the local users is through something we call the GEOGloWS Toolbox. In addition to the global hydrologic model, there's a variety of services, coding packages, web apps and templates, a training website full of presentations, documentation, tutorials, videos. That was previously on training.geoglows.org, and now we're very grateful that GEO is taking some initiative to expand these kinds of resources through the GEO Knowledge Hub. And we've seen lots of great success with this. We regularly clock tens of thousands of users of these web apps and services every week. And that brings me to some of the success that we found by taking this approach. There are 4 case studies that I can quickly highlight. They cover a variety of topics. First is in late 2020, 2 hurricanes hit Central America, in particular Honduras, back to back, just days apart from each other. And the El Cajon Dam was crippled by the first hurricane, and it took in a huge volume of water, raising the water levels. And without the stream gauges upstream, which were disabled in the hurricane, they were left basically blind when the second hurricane came through. And in this instance, they used the GeoGloWS data to inform the reservoir releases, trying to avoid damage to the dam or cities on the downstream side. And these graphs, you're welcome to pause and reflect on them. They just illustrates that we found the model captured very well the signal, when the peak flows would arrive, and the magnitudes of flow, and what that instilled greater confidence in use of the GeoGloWS model for reservoir operations. The next example comes from Guatemala, just to the west of Honduras. There's a famous lake, Lake Atitlan, which is a major source of tourism, brings in lots of money to the residents nearby. It's known for being a very clear and beautiful lake, but several years ago started to have regular seasonal algal blooms and have problems with contaminants getting into the water. The local residents, the water managers, and even at the national level were not able to really provide the resources to predict the hydrology in the area, which contributes to transporting all those contaminants into the lake. So they used our web services, specifically the code and data services that I had mentioned, to harvest GeoGloWS Streamflow data. They used that as an input to the water quality models and the other analysis that they used. And so this enabled them to make progress on a problem that otherwise would have, this lack of data would have been prohibitive to them starting to address these needs at the lake level. The next example that I have is a flood early warning system. There are two good examples of this that we've been pretty heavily involved in, but certainly there are many more examples. The two examples I'd like to show are in Nepal and Malawi. This image is from Nepal. A local school teacher that lives just nearby this river that's pictured used the GEOGloWS ECMWF Streamflow service, logged onto our apps, and started tracking a storm that was coming. And this river is known for floods, and so he had the pre-knowledge to know to look for floods, was able to use our services to identify when the flood would come, alerted other people to steer clear, and lives and property were saved because someone was able to access global data sources easily. This is a picture of the app that they developed there, and very similar stories could be told in Malawi. This next picture is a screenshot of a community-based flood early warning system developed in Malawi, where they complement their community-based mechanisms for flood monitoring with the global GeoGloWS data source, and this extends their lead times and the warning that they can offer to residents in flood preparation. The last example I have is about bias correction and validation studies. There are many places where the model does not perform just as good as it does in Honduras for reservoir operations. It's subject to bias, like many models are. But we've been able to partner with local stakeholders that really need this data and leverage whatever limited observation capacity they have in conjunction with our historical and forecast data sets to perform bias correction, perform validation studies. The figures on the left are from a paper which was published by some of those local users of the model and supported by BYU and GeoGloWS members. On the right, I got screenshots from a variety of web apps that we were responsible for building in support of those local users. So what we've learned through all of these studies that I've just presented is that the end user is really the most important person you should be concerned about when developing global models. Certainly you need to be concerned about building a high quality model and going through the calibration steps, the data assimilation steps, whatever is appropriate for the model that's being built or the data set that's being developed. However, all the design decisions that you make, need to be well documented and communicated to the end users. You need to be concerned about how accessible is your data sets. Is it reliable? Are you putting in the efforts to ensure that the model is going to continue to run into the future, or the appropriate updates are going to be made? All of these things are important and really essential before you're ever going to find local adoption and permanent capacity increase at the local level. We found also that it's through empowering those local users that the GEOGloWS Streamflow dataset has been expanded to help solve this huge variety of problems. With the exception of that very last series of apps that I mentioned, all of those success stories were driven principally by a local user and supported by GEOGloWS, rather than GEOGloWS trying to solve all of these problems and deliver solutions to end users. And this really underscores the value of GEO Knowledge Hub and anything really that supports spreading knowledge and transparency of models. In the future, we of course have plans to improve the model. We would love to expand the quality of our services, the number of data sets that we can offer, and continue to expand on this user-oriented model building process, and hopefully find even greater success in helping local users find access to the data they need through global sources. Thank you.